Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, let's make a delicious Puerto Rican dinner. So my protein of choice is going to be some delicious mahi-mahi. In Spanish, we call this Dorado. This is a delicious fish, especially for those who are kind of picky with fish. Try this, I think you'll like it. And of course, you can use fresh mahi-mahi, but since mine is frozen, I'm gonna go ahead and thaw it really quickly in a bowl filled with cool water. Alright, so if you've watched any of my other cook with me's, I typically start with preparing the meat. But since I'm making fish and fish cooks relatively quickly, instead, I'm gonna go ahead and prepare one of my sides, which is stewed gandules. I'm going to start by adding a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and then once that gets nice and heated up, I'm going to add about 1/4 cup of some chopped diced ham. And just an FYI, I do have an individual video recipe on gandule guisado or stewed gandules, pigeon peas, gungo peas, whatever you call it. And that video is really good. In that recipe, or in that version of stewed gandules, I add green banana dumplings, which we call bolitas de guineo. But for today's stewed gandules, I'm keeping it simple, just using what I have on hand. I actually do have green bananas, but instead of making green banana dumplings with them, like we typically do when we make stewed gandules, I'm gonna boil them on the side with some salt. And yeah, just gonna keep it very simple today. All right, so now that my ham is golden and fragrant, I'm gonna add a little bit of chopped white onion. You can use as much or as little as you like. I say aim for at least a tablespoon. As you can see, I obviously did not have a lot on hand. I just added just a little bit of what I had. And I'm gonna cook that up until it's nice and fragrant. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add a little over a tablespoon of my fresh homemade sofrito. I get a lot of questions on my channel about sofrito recipes. I have 2 videos on how I make my sofrito. I have a very authentic version, which is my very first video. And then I have a basic, more practical version of sofrito, so be sure to check those out. And then I'm going to add a little bit of tomato sauce. This is about 2 tablespoons or so. Just preparing the base for my stewed gandules. Then I'm going to add a little piece of bay leaf. This is going to give our stewed gandules a really good flavor. And then I'm going to add a packet of some Goya ham seasoning. You don't need to add this if you don't want to. Obviously, there's already chopped ham in it, but I do like a little extra ham flavoring. And then I'm going to use half a packet of Goya Sazón. If you don't want to use Sazón, you don't have to. Of course, you can use a little bit of dried annatto powder, or you can use annatto oil. Then I'm going to give that a good stir. Just letting these ingredients simmer for a couple of seconds so that all of the flavors can just fuse together. And then I'm going to add 1 can of gandules with the liquid, because the liquid has a lot of flavor. Usually, like if I'm making beans, I do not like to add the liquid that's in canned beans, but for gandules, I don't mind it, especially for this brand. This is a Puerto Rico brand. Feel free to use Goya or any other brand that you can find. And then before I add my water, I'm going to go ahead and use the back of a spoon, and I'm going to mash a little bit of those gandules. And I'm doing this so that the starch in the gandules can release, and this is going to create a very nice, rich, and thick broth. And then I'm going to fill up the can all the way to the top with water and throw it in, easy measuring. I'm going to put the lid on and just let it cook on medium-low. All right, so I have my gandules going. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my rice. So I'm going to start by adding a little extra virgin olive oil, but you can use literally any oil you prefer. And then I'm going to add a little pinch of salt. I say about a teaspoon or so. I have a small family. We're a family of 4, so I'm going to make a small batch of rice. All right, so after I added my oil and my salt, I added 3 cups of water and I let it come to a boil. And then afterwards, I'm going to add 2 cups of long grain rice that I washed and rinsed. Just gonna throw that in there. If you notice, the water, the temperature in the water reduced because the rice was cold. That's normal. So I'm gonna wait until the water comes back up to a boil. And once it does, I'm going to set my heat to like a low. I'm going to put the lid on and I'm just going to let it do its thing until the rice is done. And I'll probably stir it like 1 or 2 times in between that. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to cook up some green bananas. Now you can make green banana dumplings and plop them in your stewed gandules. But instead, I am going to simply just cut the ends off, remove the peel, and I'm just going to boil them in salt water. And it's going to be a very delicious and very healthy side dish. If you didn't know, green bananas are extremely healthy. They're very high in potassium, fiber, etc. And if you've never had savory bananas before, because these are, in fact, regular bananas that have not been treated with the gas that causes them to ripen when they're in the store, which makes their skin yellow. If you've never had these before, I can't really describe the taste. It's savory. I don't know. It's a very unique taste and it's really delicious. So I encourage you to give it a try. If you live in an area where you can't find green bananas or just like Caribbean produce like this, sometimes where they keep the bananas in the grocery store, underneath whatever table they're at, sometimes they'll have like very unripe bananas there. You just have to make sure that you cook them quickly once you take them home because they are treated with that gas that ripens them. So like if you leave them sitting out on your counter, they're eventually going to turn yellow. So if you do get regular bananas in the store that are green, make sure you cook them up very quickly and you will be able to enjoy them like this. And after peeling my bananas, I'm going to boil them in some salt water for about 15 minutes until they are fork tender. Just be sure to not overboil them. All right, so now it's time to prepare the star of tonight's dinner, which is my mahi-mahi. And I'm just going to set it on a plate for seasoning. And for some reason, this mahi-mahi, the pieces came so irregular. I bought this brand before and I'm like, whoa, I have like 2 really big pieces, a medium piece and a little baby piece, which is perfect because I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old and like the portions of those little ones were perfect for them. So I'm going to add about 1 tablespoon of some melted salted butter. And then I'm going to add a little drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. If you decide to make this meal, of course, you can play around with the kind of fats you want to use. If you want to use any fat at all, I love a combination of oil and butter. I feel like it gives a perfect balance of flavor. And I like to add oil, extra virgin olive oil, because apart from the flavor, I just feel like it helps to crisp up the protein really well. And then I'm going to add the juice of half of a lime. You can also use lemon juice, but limes are my favorite. And I'm just going to try to coat both sides of my fish as evenly as I can. The good thing about adding the lime too is that while my fish is marinating, the lime will kind of make the butter thicken a little. And when the butter thickens, it kind of sticks to the fish a lot more better. And then when it comes to seasonings, you can use whatever seasoning you like. I absolutely love the seasoning when it comes to fish. It is so good. It has really good ingredients. It has like smoked paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, parsley, black pepper, etc., etc. So good. And I like that it's not so high in sodium, so I can be pretty heavy-handed without worrying about oversalting my fish. It's just a really good Creole seasoning. And fun fact, the word Creole is actually criollo in English, so pretty fitting because Puerto Rican food is called comida criolla, which is Creole food. All right, and then I decided to make some slits in my fish so that just the seasonings can penetrate it a little better. I'm not a professional cook, y'all. I'm just a regular home cook, and just here try my best. And then I'm going to flip over my fish and I'm going to add a little more of that seasoning. By the way, I will have all of the ingredients listed in the description box below. Feel free to use that as a general guide and adjust all the ingredients accordingly if you decide to make this meal. And then I'm going to add a little extra onion powder because I feel like onion powder and fish go really well together. And yeah, that's it. Use a really good Creole all-purpose seasoning, some lime juice, some butter, some oil, and a little bit of onion powder. And I'm gonna let this marinate on the counter for about 20 minutes. All right, so now my fish is ready for cooking, and I am going to air fry my fish. I find that it comes out really good, nice and crispy, delicious, perfectly juicy. And I'm making sure that I'm grabbing all of that marinade from the bowl and placing it on top of my fish. Now you can bake this fish. You can also saute it on a cast iron skillet, but air frying is very convenient. And the good thing about air frying it is that your house won't smell like fish, So I'm gonna air fry it at about 375 degrees for about 15 minutes or so until it gets the color that I'm looking for, which is a nice crispy golden color. And then I'm going to top it off with some chopped bell peppers and onions. These are just veggies that I had in my fridge that were going bad, and I want to put them to good use, and it gives it a really good flavor. All right, so while my fish is air frying, I'm going to use this little salad kit that I found at Target. They sell salad kits like this in Walmart, at Aldi. Check any other local grocery store you may have. They're very convenient and very good. Like this one came with some chopped cabbage and romaine, some cilantro, corn kernels, a really good avocado lime dressing. I don't know. It's just, if you're a person that struggles with getting veggies in, I highly suggest using these salad kits. And of course, you don't have to use all of the dressing. You can use your own dressing. But yeah, it's just a really good way to get your veggies in, and my family enjoys it. All right, so dinner is done. So I'm going to go ahead and check on everything real quick. And look at my gandule guisado, y'all. They came out so good. That broth, so good. Y mi arrocito ya está. Mira qué rico. It's the perfect amount for my little family. And my boiled guineitos are done as well. And that mahi-mahi at 375 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes came out perfection. All right, and dinner is served. This meal came out incredible. It is on my weekly rotation. And the best part about it, it's pretty healthy. It's something different from typical Puerto Rican dinners that you may see online. I feel like when people think of Puerto Rican meals, the first thing that comes to mind is like some fried chuletas or arroz con salchicha, or like, just like the typical very calorie dense Puerto Rican meals. But you can definitely enjoy delicious Puerto Rican cooking in a more healthy way. And as always, if you are new here, please subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up. It helps my channel a ton, and be sure to hit that notification bell.